Okay, so I did a vlog on the movie Amadeus. The movie is really interesting to me because I have a connection to the background of this movie, which is about classical music. The film is directed by Miloš Forman and stars Tom Moltz as Mozart and F. Murray Abraham as Antonio Salieri, the two leading males in the film. This movie follows the story of Antonio Salieri's jealousy over Mozart's talents, and it's told from Antonio's point of view, but it's about Mozart's life. Basically, the start of the film starts off by Antonio trying to kill himself because he thinks that he killed Mozart in 1791. Antonio is then transferred to an insane asylum where he is confronted by a priest. This is where the base of the film is told from. It's a dialogue between Antonio and the priest where Antonio explains his flashbacks and relationships with Mozart. It's really cool to see because it's a unique dialogue and not most movies are like this. So the first flashback is when Antonio first counteracts with Mozart, and he expects him to be this talented genius, but he finds out that he's really immature and that he has this obnoxious laugh that sounds like Mickey Mouse. So Antonio and Mozart have these counteractions throughout the movie with different twists, and the biggest one is where Mozart's his father passes away, and so Antonio takes Mozart under his wing and he tries to get him to compose a requiem. Unfortunately, Mozart would later to go on to die before this requiem was completed. There's a lot of speculation that Mozart died because of the stress of the death of his father and the requiem that Antonio persuaded him to make, which is hence why he tried to kill himself in the beginning. But after this journey that Antonio goes through with his flashbacks on Mozart and talking to the priest, he confesses that it wasn't his fault that Mozart died and that he believes that it was God's fault. Antonio is then forgiven for his sins by the priest, and then leaves the asylum. So the music in this film, it's really amazing to watch. There's a lot of good music because in the scenes where Mozart and Antonio composed their pieces, you can picture exactly how the pieces were played live. It occurs throughout the film, and it also carries on to how the costumes and the makeup of the film were done. The transformation in makeup on Antonio from a young man to an older man, where he explains the dialogue of the flashback, it's done really well. You can see the detail in the makeup. All the composers and most of the characters in the film wear wigs in the movie because that's what replicates actually how it looked back then. I suppose it's just the style that they had, just like how people wear snapback hats nowadays. The lighting in the movie is really interesting to see because unlike most movies, the lighting was done by candles to show the different dark scenes where Antonio, he was really depressed and he was talking about his jealousy for Mozart. So the feelings of the scenes, you could really tell how the director wanted it to come off to the audience. But I mean, overall, this movie was really knowledgeable. And it gave me a better understanding of how Mozart's career, how it influenced the people around him. But not just that, but also how people thought of Mozart as a person. Antonio believed that he was just a genius god at the beginning, and then he found out later that he was just like a normal person, that he was immature, and that he did have that obnoxious laugh. So it was a really good movie to watch. The sources that I cited for the movie, I watched the movie Amadeus, so the release date was September 19th, it was 1984. The composer was Miloš Forman, and the music is it's composed by Wolfgang, Amadeus, and Mozart and Antonio Salieri. So that's really